What's going on, guys? Renegade here. I've got two projects planned today for my 1991 Volvo 245. One is an aesthetic choice. One is dealing with an issue that is very, very common in the 240 series. How many of you guys out there who are driving the 240 are driving around and your odometer doesn't work? Just sits there and does nothing, like this. Now, obviously, I recorded this the other day while I was driving home from work. My odometer has not worked in a while. And it's annoying, but it's a pretty simple fix. So we're gonna try and take care of that today. I'm hoping to get it fixed. And the other thing that I'm gonna do today is I'm actually gonna change the front faces of my gauges. Now, if you notice, I already have my cluster out. Talk about that in a second. But I have the standard black gauges, which look nice, but at the same time, there are other ways to do this that are a little better. So that's what we got planned for today. I'm going to put new gauges on, or new gauge faces on here, and we're going to try and fix the odometer. Now, obviously, I have this out, and you'll notice I'm working in the studio today instead of down in the garage or outside. The reason for that is it's really damn cold. Right now, it's about 19 degrees outside, with a wind chill factor, feels like factor, whatever you want to call it, of about 12. It's too bloody cold to work out there. My hands were freezing just as much as for as long as I was out there. But taking this out of your car is actually really easy. All right, so to get the cluster out, it's actually pretty easy. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pull this knob off, straight off, pull this knob off, straight off. Over here, just pull these covers. Now, my clock is not set the normal way. And notice I actually have a flat panel that is cut. Down the road, I want to switch this out. So, but normally you'll have a panel that you take off and then the clock is behind it. Mine, not the case. In fact, I think somebody might have glued it in, I'm not sure. Back over here, you're probably going to use a flathead screwdriver or something to kind of pry a little bit with. Just going to pry it back a little until you can pop it all the way out. There we go. Now, because these wires are long enough in this one, I don't actually need to disconnect them. My black car, I do, so just be wary of that. And you just have these 4 screws. One there, one there, one there, one there. On older model cars, these 4 screws are Phillips heads. You'll notice on this car, they're all Torx bits. It's because this is after the Ford acquisition of Volvo. Everything pre-Ford is Phillips, everything after Ford is Torx. Kind of pain. Those 4 screws out, the whole cluster just pulls right forward. It's easier said than done with only one hand. And you can reach back behind the cluster and undo all the wires. And you pull the cluster just out sideways and you're done. So once you actually have it out, all you gotta do then is dismantle this, which is also very, very easy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out all these screws. Should be 7 screws. And the whole cage, so to speak, the whole cover, the whole box, whatever you want to call it, will separate from the actual gauge cluster itself. Ta-da. Now, be very careful of this right here, because you don't want to destroy that, or else you'll have some real bad issues down the road. Throw 7 screws out. Ta-da! Done. Also, if you have a tachometer like I do, if you have this cover, make sure you put it to the side because it's going to fall out and like bounce around. There we go. Now we can start the fun. One thing I should also take note of before I go too far with all this is your tripometer reset button. Because we're going to be flipping this around a whole bunch, I would highly suggest popping it off so we don't break it. Which you just do by pulling it straight off. Done. Now, because we want to, for the odometer repair job, we want to get to the back side of the speedometer where the actual gearing is of the odometer. We're just going to flip it over. And these 4 screws need to come out. As it starts to get loose, put your hand behind it. Keep your odometer from falling. And keep in mind also that this one is one of the more modern ones. It is a digital or electronic speedometer. It's not cable driven. If it was cable driven, you'd have the connector here. And things would be a little different. So this works for the later models. I think it's 85 and forward, but I could be wrong on that. There you go, a little bit of push, unsnap, and gently you can take the whole thing out. There you go. 1 speedometer, odometer. And for those that are wondering, this right here is for your engine service reset. As long as everything is working correctly, every so often at a programmed interval of your mileage, your service engine light will pop on. It's different than an engine, like a check engine light on a modern car. It just kind of tell you, hey, you're due for some sort of service. And then of course you have to check your own and then you'll see what the service is. But, not to worry about that too much. What we're actually going to worry about is over here. Over here is where the actual gears are for your odometer. So these screws gotta come up. There's where all your gears are. Now, they'll sit very nicely on this little spline here. This is where you find the most common issue in your odometer not working. Now I took this apart already. I'm getting ready to check for any debris that's in here. But normally, you have this. It's a little gear, 25 tooth. This is made out of nylon. And it sits in here. And what ends up happening is, because it's nylon, it ends up stripping gears. And you'll find the teeth sitting between broken off teeth, the teeth of the other gear, and it won't be doing anything. It'll just sit there and the one gear will spin freely inside this one and do nothing. Now, there's a trick for this. If you want this gear to strip out, or not to strip out, but be less likely to strip out, the big tip and trick for it is, don't reset your tripometer unless you're in park or neutral. Preferably if the engine is off. When your car is in gear, apparently it does have a bit of a stress factor that is being transferred into these gears, and they will strip if you're resetting it multiple times while it is in gear. I always keep track of my mileage, my gas mileage. So I actually reset my tripometer when I go and get gas unless I'm making it like a long trip and I want to see how many miles and etc, etc. So what I'll do is I will, you know, make sure the gas cap is on correctly, because of course I live in New Jersey, so I'm not allowed to pump my own gas. Stupid, but it is what it is. Thanks, New Jersey. In other states you would pump your own gas. Here, not so much, but I always have to make sure that my gas cap is on correctly, because apparently nobody knows how to put a gas cap on a Volvo, even though it's big threads and it's really simple. I don't know. I've literally gotten into fights with people over this. It's ridiculous. Anywho, if you want to hear stories about that later, let me know down in the comments. I will reset the odometer as I'm climbing back into the car before I start the car. I take note of the mileage that it says on the chip, hit the reset button, then actually start the car. That helps prevent this little gear from stripping, and this is the #1 issue that happens in these clusters. Stupid? Yes. Preventable? Yes. But only if you know the trick. Alright, so I just checked in here for debris of other stripped gears, old gears. I don't see any damage, which is good. So I'm just going to put everything back together nice and easy like. Make sure all my gears are meshing up well, they all turn, which they do, thank heavens. So I can put everything back together, and hopefully that's going to fix our issue. Alright, with the odometer all put back together and hopefully now all fixed and will actually work, the next step is what I said was going to be the aesthetic side of this dual project. This video wouldn't be possible without Dave Barton. Now, this is not a sponsored video in the least bit, although I did reach out to Dave Barton a while ago and make mention that I wanted to make a video about it. It's not a paid sponsorship. He did not give me these things for free, anything like that. But one of the things that you might have noticed is that my black car, my 87 245, has white gauge faces, whereas my blue Volvo has black faces. Sounds weird when you say that, but you know what I mean. My blue Volvo has the original gauge faces. My black Volvo has overlays that are white. Well, those white overlays, which I helped design the gradation and everything like that, they came from Dave Barton. DaveBarton.com, PrancingMoose.com, that's where they came from. Well, for my blue car, my 91, I've gone and done the same thing. Except I'm not getting white ones because Dave has so many different designs that you can go check out. I got a different style. So in this package, I actually have new face plates. Now these are overlays, they're basically just decals that are gonna go on top of my face plates. Like I said, he offers a whole bunch of different designs. I actually chose one for this car that is already pre-fabbed, rather than doing a custom one like I did on my black car, which is an option. You just got to reach out to him and talk to him about it and everything like that. So check out the website, well worth it. But these are going to go on the cluster for my blue car. So obviously, with this, to put it on, you'll notice he already has the holes all cut out and everything. I said these are quality made. But you'll notice the needle is in the way to get this on. So I actually have to take off the needle, which is delicate work. Because obviously this is quite old. This is from a 91, so it's, you know, 30 some odd years old. Plastic. Now the easiest way is with a fork. Slide it up underneath and just kind of gently pry at it and pull to pop it off. So it's you obviously don't want to break the little teeny tiny little spindle that's in there that I don't even know if you guys can see on camera. There's a little spindle right there, and you don't want to break that, and you also don't want to obviously break your needle. So fork is the way to go. Then I just got to pull the actual screws that mount these down off, so we can get a nice clean flush mount, and this way if down the road I ever have to take these gauges off the actual face plates to repair something underneath, I can do that. Just take the screws off and it's all good. The actual face plates, these can stay on there without an issue. But come on, look at that, that's gonna look so awesome. Ta-da! This whole thing now can actually sit off to the side for now until I go to get to these, and we might do a little trick up in here that might make my lights a little brighter. We'll see. Put that off to the side. Now we can deal with these specifically. Now again, Dave's website is incredibly useful. There's a bunch of information on there how to fix things, and also instructions on how to put these in. There's also an application kit that you can get from him, which helps promote the adhesion. When I bought these, he was out of stock. Unfortunately, it happens. The application process, or the application kit rather, that he sells, it's not something that he makes at home, so he's got to kind of outsource it. But it's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe these faces all down with isopropyl alcohol, make sure they're all nice and clean, and then we'll be able to actually overlay the decals, get everything mounted up nice, and we're ready to rock and roll. Alright, now that I got the gauge faces, the actual plates themselves nice and clean, it's time to actually put the gauge face decal on. That's nice because everything's already cut out, so it's all going to be just about lining it up. However, first, nice little trick, I'm going to use my heat gun to heat this up. Help get the adhesive to really be nice and gummy, nice and sticky. It also helps me pull the back off a little bit. Just a little, doesn't need to be a whole lot. Heat up the faceplate itself. Very carefully line everything up. Now for this one, obviously we're going to have to slip the decals under the needle in order to get them on nice. It's not that difficult of a job. Looks good. Looks good. You even have the Dave Barton prancing moose right there. I think it looks pretty darn good. Looks even better when you put it in the actual face here in the box. Obviously it's a little stylized and maybe it's not everyone's taste, this particular style, but I think it looks darn good and definitely does a wonder to refresh the speedometer. Now the one thing I am going to do real fast, which I'm not going to do on camera because nobody wants to watch it, so I'm actually going to paint in here a nice bright white. Doing that is going to help make the light, because that's normally where your cluster light goes, it's going to actually make the light reflect better as it'll bounce into and through the light tube. You see that right there is the plastic that sits over it, and then you see that right there, which is the plastic that the light actually comes through and shines down onto your gauge cluster. And that'll help a bit. As I said, I think it's a nice look. I think it looked great in the car. And yeah. So I'm gonna paint these real fast, little extra thing. And then I'm gonna put this whole cluster back together, mount the box back together. And obviously it's dark now, so tomorrow I'll put it back in the car and we'll take it for a test, see how it actually looks.
And look at that. Obviously you just saw my tack bounce. I think there's a loose connection. When I hit a bump, sometimes the tack bounces, comes on, comes off. I'm not entirely sure. But it looks pretty slick. And obviously the car is just warming up, so it's still not registering on the temperature gauge. Been driving for all of 2 minutes. Even switched out the proper bezel for my clock. Not too shabby, huh? Like I said before, if you guys want to get some new faceplate covers, decals to go on it, see, look, now it's going, now it's working. I don't get it. I'll dig into that later. Also, my check engine light just came on. Kind of expected. I think the car is idling a little high. Not entirely sure why. I'll dig into that later too. But if you guys want to get some new faces for your gauges, give it an overhaul like I did, or a facelift, so to speak, DaveBarton.com or CleanFlameProp.com or PrancingMoose.com. I'll have the link down in the description for you. But I'm quite pleased with this. I hope you all like it, and I hope also that it helped anybody who's having an issue with their odometer not working in a Volvo 240. Like I said, get that 25 tooth gear. There'll be a link for that down in the description as well. And remember, once you replace it, never reset your trip while you're in gear. Those little tips that you don't know unless you know. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit like. Leave a comment if you have any comments or questions down below. Please remember, if you're not already subscribed, do hit subscribe, do hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. And yeah, let's see about getting some stuff actually taken care of. I'll do another video getting more into why I've been away for so long very soon. Until next time, y'all keep rocking and rolling. I'll keep taking care of business. See you in the next one.